moves us to talk about East African politics and African politics. Dr. Kaluyu, continues with us in this paper review, and Nakia should be joining us shortly. Daktari, two sides to every coin.
Yes.
There are those who see this as the best thing that the president could have said on that day, but there are others who say, how could he, make such a proclamation without consulting Kenyans? Some Kenyans are saying, listen, we already have so many issues we're trying to deal with here, with the numbers that we have, and you have basically said, and if we're talking about 44 million Kenyans, that could change drastically over the next couple of years if the president's directive is to be fully implemented. Let me get your thoughts on opportunities, but also challenges with the declaration that he made.
Yep, definitely. There's nothing wrong with each side of the coin, not necessarily in this part, because it depends on what you want to do with the coin and what you expect. There are some people who want to start the game, others want to be the second one, for whatever reasons, because always there's a strategy to each. So there's nothing wrong of thinking one side of the coin or the other. When it comes to open door policy on the borders, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I can see it. What President is trying to say is that we want to invite investors. We look at, for example, a country like Dubai, where most people are foreigners investing, working, and doing business, and see how rich the place is. So there's nothing wrong with that. We have actually worked a lot of times, and I would say, with due respect, as a community, as a small community, we are a country. We need to burst in the community of nations and be a competitor, because we are very competitive. Look at young people like you guys. You're very smart when it comes to technology. You are able to do big things. The country is really being moved and shaped by young people, because they are 7% of what is happening right now. So you are capable. There are risks involved with it. There are people who try to get into the country, and this is not unique. There cannot be 100% proof, because the United States actually it invites 50,000 people every year. I mean, the Lotto, Green Card Lotto, which was finished on November 7th, it just got concluded.
And I was actually going to ask you, there's a reason why I'm sure it has been closed off. It's no longer going to be available. Yeah, because they are trying to close their borders.
They're trying to. And each president usually have their way of thinking, because President Trump has his own way of thinking in terms of immigration, and some countries do not have a high expectancy rates in terms of they live longer, and they don't need people to come as fast to replace the older ones. People live longer in the United States, and the population doesn't grow as fast. That's why they were bringing people with expertise, minimum of high school and all that. Other countries are bringing people because they select very well. Kenya should be able to do the same, so that we can invite investors, and that will be on top of what we are trying to do. Embassies should be working around the clock for performance, to bring tourists and investments. Diaspora is ready to invest, but they want to be sure that things are okay. So the president is okay. Big picture. As a president, I would give only the big picture. The technical part of it, we are not just going to allow anyone, sir. We're going to just make sure that they are.
That is clear, though.
No, that they are going to be. There is nothing like everybody
with corruption in public service, yes. etc. To be very easy for anyone with a couple of dollars to even get work visa, name it.
Yes. So that's what I'm saying. When the president gives directive, he gives the strategy. The tactical part of it has to be worked out. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to be teams saying, who comes in? What do we consider? And you are right. Corruption in this country is very endemic. And actually the true cause of it is really poverty. We need to do more as a comprehensive plan to make it really work. If it is not a comprehensive plan, it's not going to be efficient. You're going to have people paying to be in this country, and then, bribery and all that. So it's a comprehensive plan that requires serious thinking, and also very serious technical team that takes in account all what is needed to be input, including prevention of, corruption, but also igniting. How do we prevent that? Igniting the economy, reducing the poverty, giving people hope, taking the diaspora to come and give the new way, bringing new methods of working out social and economic and environmental and other issues that needs to be put through.
Should the president have consulted a bit more widely? It came as a surprise to many, even members of the press who usually are aware of such things were caught aback.
Yes,
it was a closely guarded secret.
Yeah. So when a country is at a crossroads as we are, The president is looking for many ways, and I'm putting myself as a person who would have been a resident in the State House, looking for ways to speed up what has really been lagging after political dragging and using a lot of money in politics. We have overused money, really, which could have been used to ignite our economy. But he's looking for radical methods, even for posterity in future, so that our generations can live better. So I think when we choose a leader, we give him the space to make decisions. We have to
do not agree. We may not all agree.
That's why there is opposition. That's why there's opposition, to keep him in check. When he has to give the plan how it's going to be done. And as soon as it hits the ground, the opposition hits the ground as well. This is happening, this is not happening. Sometimes it's not that about the perfect plan. It's not about what is popular. It's what you believe, and once you choose a leader, you have to let them lead. And if they make mistakes, you fix them, and you don't have to destroy a country in fixing them.
Okay. On page 10 of the Daily Nation, they've taken time to do a county watch. Look at how various counties have fared in the first 100 days. Before we take a look at this, we actually did a story yesterday about Nairobi County. Lots of promises made by Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko and his then running mate, now the Deputy Governor, when they were campaigning. What have they achieved? What have they not achieved? Our team took some time to go around the city and find out a few things, and this is what they found out. Here's that report.
Of the Nairobi City County, Mike Sonko Mbuvi.
The swearing-in ceremony of Governor Mike Sonko was seen as the start of good things. Voted in overwhelmingly, Nairobi residents had high hopes, fueled by promises made on this day.
Nairobi will never be the same again from today. I shall work around the clock to guarantee efficient and timely services for all our residents.
100 days later, the city in the sun is struggling to shine. Some streets are a hawker's paradise. Littered roads make part of most roads within Nairobi. Take this road for instance in Isili, Mtarakwa Road. Residents say the rubbish here has not been collected for weeks. Cars forced to maneuver through the filth.
Ukiangalia kwa hizi wholesale za chini, hii barabara imejaribu kuaffect kila mahali. Sababu sisi tulikuwa tunaingisha customer wengi na saa hizi hakuna hata customer kwa duka yetu.
Most areas in Pangani, Majengo, garbage is dumped even in the middle of the road. The guardrail here, a pit for some. The roadside, a haven for flies, attracted by the stench. Many here have learned to live with the stench.
This auspicious day marks the end of the cartels that have held the people of Nairobi hostage for many years.
Even with that promise echoed in his maiden speech at the county assembly in September, deep-rooted cartels in the Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company and City Hall are blocking water from reaching residents. The gathering of water bowsers is the norm. Smooth delivery of water in the city is still a challenge. In his 100 days, the governor promised through his manifesto that he would 1. Use technology to control traffic, 2. Give incentives to providers of high-capacity buses, 3. Provide footpaths and walkways on key corridors and the CBD, 4. Unclog drainage, 5. Improve road signage, 6. Eliminate touting fee. There is, however, little to show for these promises. On his social media accounts, the governor shows part of his initiatives within the city. The Sonko Rescue Team has provided jobs for some city youths. The same initiative being involved in cleaning markets and roadsides. With an ongoing cleanup in Nairobi markets, initiative dubbed Market Safi campaign, traffic still a bother in the city, even with the elimination of double parking. A garbage collector's tender notice was placed early this month by the county government in a bid to replace the current ones on contract, with claims of sabotage by the existing garbage collectors who allegedly had not been paid by the previous county government. The county executives were sworn in on November 23rd. The hope of Nairobi City residents is that they will share the burden of making the city shine once again.
So how would you rate your county leadership over the last 100 days? That's the question we're asking you. Wherever you're watching us from across this country, talk to us. 22422 is our SMS line, and use the hashtag #ThePowerBreakfast or Power Breakfast, and I'll read your SMSs. That's a little bit about what our team found out or was sort of able to glean out of Nairobi County. Let me now take you to page 10 of the Daily Nation and just read a few headlines. The title at the very top is Devolution, 100 Days in Office. The big story there is Joho on the spot. This is in regards to Mombasa County, as town chokes in mounds of trash. And when Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho delivered his first speech at the county assembly, he gave a list of projects. Top of his agenda was the thorny issue of garbage collection, with the governor promising not only to develop but also implement an integrated solid waste management plan to clear garbage in the coastal town. However, a big however, almost 100 days since he was sworn in, the promise is yet to be fulfilled. Mounds of garbage have been lying uncollected in estates and major roads, leaving residents concerned. And it's not just about Mombasa County. Let's take a look at other counties as well during their campaigns, and that's at the bottom of this page. Nakuru and Nyandarua governors outlined priority areas they would address in their first 100 days. However, many of the pledges still remain just that, promises. And if you take a look at another article as well, so no one should say that we've just focused on one county. Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya promised radical administrative changes for effective service delivery, but the title at the top is Governor's Fidget as Dishonour of Missing Crucial Timelines Lurks. Let me now welcome Nakia White to the broadcast, co-founder, Global Ladder Africa, political strategist. Welcome to the program, Nakia.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you here. You've joined us just as we get into the topic of devolution. Your thoughts, 100 days, anything that has stood out for you for the last 100 days, or have governors hidden under the fact that Kenyans have been so focused on what's happening on the national stage that they've sort of relaxed?
I think one of the most interesting things, I follow Mike Sonko on Twitter, and at the very beginning, I guess when he got into office, he was kind of running into offices and making sure that, I guess, things were done properly, or if people were being corrupt, that he kind of called them out, and it was all live and all on Twitter. And he's been able to, he's really amazing at PR, at public relations. And so he's really been good at... I
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing in the long run.
In the long run, you don't know. But I think for right now, he really does a great job with, which is why he won overwhelmingly. It wasn't just because of some little matter, is because he's been great at PR all along. So I think he stood out for me. But in terms of devolution, we have to also be honest that the national government has not released very many funds to some of the counties because, of the political distress that has been going on for the last couple of months. So we have to also be honest about the release of funds and how, governors are having access to money to help develop infrastructure and things like that. So, so I think to judge governors on 100 days, especially given what is happening financially and economically in the country, I think is a bit unfair.
So such stories might not really be honest in terms of, it's not right to say that they failed. 100 days might not be adequate time. They did not have access to resources. Is that sort of where you're?
Well, I think
what you're alluding to?
I think we could say that on one instance, especially for some of the first-time governors. But if you're a second term or an incumbent governor,
you have no excuse.
You shouldn't have any excuse, right? This is the trash in Mombasa, which I just came back from, was an issue 5 years ago. It was an issue for the last 5 years. So now, if it's a priority, so I think some of the incumbents, it shouldn't necessarily be a big issue now. It should have really been taken care of before, but some of the first-time governors, certainly, I would give them a little bit more leniency because of access to funding.
I'll come back to you to talk a bit about Nairobi County. Dr. Kaluyi, you really look like you want to get into this as well. I want to get your thoughts.
Yes, I want to be able to say, before you are elected, you should be able to have 100 days. It should have been part of your plan. And I agree with my colleague here that the first 100 days, Sonko was able to show he could collect. He was able to move the revenue collection.
That's right.
These are what we call quick wins. And 100 days is made for quick wins. Do not promise things that you cannot do. What I look around the country, you see some plans that were made for just PR purposes. Let's say you're going to plant coffee. You should be able to, if you say that's going to happen in 100 days, you should be able to have a feasibility study done. You should be able to tell people within that coffee, the acreage that will produce how much, where the market is going to come from, how much you're going to gain, so that you don't just have a small piece of land that is not going to be even profitable to you, yet there are people with large land. So you're going to cheat the person with a very small acreage because you're still telling people with big coffee you're going to make a lot of money. So lack of feasibility studies, clarity, and also too much PR. Now, people need to be able in future, when people go to 100 days, before you burst out into governorship, 100 days, you need to be able to list them so that people can hold you accountable. Number one, Mr. Governor or Miss Governor, what has this been done on 100 days? Yeah, so we have 3-4 years to go so that we can hold you accountable. You made a promise that was broken.
For example, Mike Sonko, one of his promises which he listed was to use technology to reduce traffic jams in the city.
Yes.
I don't know if you've seen it.
He tried. He tried, and I think it didn't work very well.
Tried how? Maybe it's something I hadn't seen. What did you see?
He wanted matatus to be parked away from the city at first, and then in the district there were not going to be any anybody else in there. And I think there was a lot of screams and wailing, and he had to leave that plan alone for now. But that is not all gone. Mike Sonko will find a way, because I think that was right from the beginning during campaigns. He used to say that he would like to make Walkpath maybe a place to park or something like that. But he will continue. That's how leaders do. They try to check what works. But what I advise him to do is to put a committee of people who have done urban planning. The urban planning is missing in Kenya. People put houses anywhere, traffic anywhere. You find people telling people, just put kiosks anywhere, just you can start doing businesses because you're a small mama and pop person who is trying to do businesses. No, urban planning is very critical, including health, including traffic, and even development. Without that, the city is going to think we have gone to Upper Hill here to build, but soon it will be following us up there if there is no actually planning before you even put a building in there.
Nakia, are the odds stacked against Mike Sonko, Polycarp Igathe? Is there just too much to handle, too little time, too many interests in the city of Nairobi? Government sits here, media sits here, diplomats sit here. Yeah. Your thoughts?
I think it's a perfect storm. I do. I think if the governor, if Mike Sonko really takes advantage of his positioning, he could really do well in the next 5 years. And I think one of the ways that he can do that is certainly by working on urban planning, because that's important, and really developing an entire county, right? And really being kind of the example of what a county or how a county should be run for the rest of Kenya. Secondly, I think if he sincerely and honestly tackles corruption, both police corruption and internal corruption, I think he'll make some really huge, big changes. So listen, Nairobi is clearly the capital of the country. So it spotlights on it. Every conference that's held is normally held in Nairobi. So I think if he really handles it well over the next 5 years, I think he could really be in a really good bird's eye position in the next election.
Oh, okay. You've already gone.
I am. Listen, we have to move on. We just have to move on from where we are right now, right?
Let me read a couple of SMSs here before I come to Dr. Kaluyu. Somebody here, you say, morning, I am Ruth from Githurai 44. My problem with the current administration is water. We are still struggling without water for weeks. Another person here, now you say my governor is Paul Chepkwony, and I believe that's Kericho County. I am not happy because what he promised he has not done. Very poor roads within Kericho Township and environs. I'm not happy. I'm Major CLA. I think that's a person's name. Roads in 100 days, possible or not? And I'll come and get thoughts from you. Another person says, morning Wahiga, Garissa town, even we miss water. So water a big issue in the counties. Let me see if there is any other message that I can. Oh yes, Sir Nixon Ndugire, who says, I cast my vote in Kiambu County. The biggest challenge has been poor roads. Here we are again. Lack of adequate tap water. Hope it will improve. So we can see common issues in the counties after 100 days. Dr. Kaluyu, let me come to you, and even as you weigh in on this, your thoughts. some expected the president to say more about devolution in his speech. I've read his speech. I've gotten the hard copy. It's about 3 lines. Devolution was meant to take power from the national government to the counties, empower the counties. One would have expected more in his plan on how he'll empower devolution, but we did not quite get that feeling, or did you see something different from what others saw?
You see, with the devolution, the guidelines are very clear. One of the things about devolution is that they are financed. I mean, they are given money, a minimum of 15%, and they can go as far as 45%. They are asking for high amounts of money from the federal monies. And their budget is independent. They can actually make budget item lines for what they need to do. They can make a lot of dent in people's lives. That's what it was made for. That's what people fight for. So the governors, the ball is in the governor's court. There are things that are, the role of government is to make sure the devolution is well funded and the money is made available adequately. And then to some extent, there is the Auditor General who can make sure the money using FMS is actually done correctly. And if it's not, they take it over and they manage it. So there may have been a few lines because he cannot manage the counties. He will be pushed back immediately after the speech told that please don't manage the counties. We have the governors who are working on it. Make the money available. We will do the business. So it's up to the governors to make sure that they make intelligently, plausible decisions that help their counties. So the president doesn't have to go very inside. I wouldn't have made too much further of it.
Let me push you a bit further.
Yeah.
You've stated before that with a bit more money,
yes,
your campaign would have been different. There are governors saying,
yes,
in the first 100 days, with a bit more money, we would have done things. What's different?
I like the comparison. You're such a smart young man, and for the youth all the time. Who have thought that you compare that? Definitely with a little bit more money. Not a little bit more, lots more money.
But that's what they are saying.
Yeah, I would have campaigned, first of all, I would have won, and because money is everything in the country. We do not ask actual money that is being generated locally so that they can support systems that are local. But with a little bit more money, I support with devolution with the counties. They can do more. But I would like them to prove that they can do efficiently and much as it's expected with what they got. You don't just heap money to the counties. It's going to be just open a revolving door of money, big contracts, people get extra money, money gets lost. There needs to be accountability system so that you can prove you can do with the little you have. Then after that, you are given more money. The more you can do, the more you should be given the money.
For discussion's sake, and I know I need to get to Nakia, what does that accountability system look like? It's enough. It's one thing to say. It's another thing for me to ask you, if you were auditing the counties, what would make you confident that you can then go to Treasury and tell them, now increase the allocation? Just briefly.
Project management. Project management, before you start, because money is lost a lot through contracts, and that's why you see MCS fighting, I did not get a contract, or did not get a contract, or contracts that are white elephants that have been funded and they do not actually work, or the work is done substandardly. So what is happening is that we make sure this is the project. Before you even apply for the money, this is the stage 1, when it's going to be timeline, when it's going to be finished. Is it going to be finished online, managed through that? There are some projects that just go 3/4 ways, walkways that have been kind of tarmacked only 3/4 ways, nobody cares, things go on like that. The project managing this is a big deal in counties, and I would train that if I was given an opportunity if I was the president. I would make sure before you do anything on the ground, feasibility study, project management, everything is marked. And,
although as a president, you should actually leave counties to run independently, but that's a topic for another day. Nakia, your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, I agree with him. Project management is certainly a tool to manage, right? So if you're in a construction project or a development project and you're a developer, you are giving guidelines by whomever you're working for to say you have a certain amount of time to do this work, and if you don't do it, or if you have, change sheets that you need to do, or if you don't get it done on time, there are deductions that are taken away from the total amount. So I think that project management in that way is incredibly important, especially as counties are starting to look to build roads and much more infrastructure, I think, that'll make it better for people in Turkana and Kericho and places where they're really affected by lack of water and roads. So, yeah, accountability is incredibly important, I think, and project management is certainly one of those ways of checks and balances.
Okay. Were you concerned by the fact that the president gave devolution in his speech 3 lines? Would you have hoped for more?
I'm not concerned about that. I think, devolution is just that. It's up to the counties to handle their own business. And it's not for the president to kind of, unless it's an absolute emergency, and he must, to get involved with how counties run their business. He is the president of a country. He's not the president of a county. So I don't, I don't think it would behoove him to do that, especially when he has national matters to concern himself with, certainly, as it includes international trade as well.
Okay. People really weighing in on this discussion. One person has said, I feel you're misjudging Governor Sonko because he has not had adequate funds and the office was in a mess. I believe he will deliver, so give him time and money. The political climate has not been stable as well. He will work as he identifies with the ordinary Mwananchi, and he has good support with his deputy, Nakia.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree with that.
Okay.
I agree with that.
But others are writing in, morning Wahiga, Machakos County, residents of Mlolongo, we are struggling with garbage and hawkers in the middle of the road, poor drainage, insecurity, despite promises, we're not happy. Another person, Marie, says, Kenyatta County, the governor has neglected Mwea. We elected her to be different from the previous governor who neglected the same region. We need roads developed, we need garbage to be collected, we need markets for farmers of horticultural products developed. Marie. Another one, Mohammed from Garissa, says completely not happy with the performance of the governor. We mentioned that Sonko has done a lot. As a matter of fact, with his enthusiasm, excitement, and even drive to do good, walking on the street, he has done a lot. So I would say Sonko has done, and we need to encourage him to do more, not to cut him down or anything else. But where it is correct, we can guide him. But he has done more good than even the negative, to be honest with you. So kudos, Governor Sonko. Now, when it comes to, there's something that is appearing constantly is garbage collection. In the worldwide, the government, the disposal of waste, it is technologically disposed these days. There are investors, in fact, before I came there, people who would say, would like to help Kenya in terms of waste and disposal, invest in how to turn it to nothing. And also to energy, geothermal energy. It's not only just to dispose it and it goes away, it can be turned to energy. So we are sitting on garbage, we are sitting on energy. We're sitting on gold.
Yes, we are sitting on garbage gold, if we want to call it that way. I'm a PhD, I'm allowed to make these words. So, I'm telling you, there is so much in Kenya's potential. We bring the technology, investors are around, so if you want to do that, let's talk about, but government should be able to give guarantees so these things can go forward. I know the debt is very high and government guarantees sometimes they are risky because of increasing the lending effect. But sometimes we have to give the cushion so that things can move forward. The node can be opened up, and they to bring all things back. If the energy, we are getting energy from our own garbage. We are trying to get water that is flushed to be back for drinking water, which is being done in California and other places. There are things that we can do. And as a matter of fact, I want to pitch in on diaspora. Diaspora, we know a lot of things that are happening out there. We want to bring in diaspora so that they can bring these new ideas and make it comfortable. So challenging the office of president to make a new solid department of diaspora so that they can feel safe and bring all the ideas. You see what happens with Kenya.
Nakia, you have some thoughts about garbage collection. I saw you really listening to what he had to say. And just about any reaction? I think garbage collection, water, roads, certainly, especially from the tweets, seem like the biggest issues. And, listen, clean energy is certainly the wave of the future and something that Kenya should seriously look at. And also using, it just found tons and tons of water in Turkana, and being able to kind of use that water to make sure that people are not dealing with drought and dying, losing cattle, and that will also help to build the economy just through attrition. So, looking at really innovative ways of building the country, building counties, really smart ways of leveraging trash to make sure that we have energy and people have lights. Like, some counties are not on the national grid. In 2017,
it's a little beyond, you know, my comprehension, especially with a country like Kenya who has so many resources and so many eyes on Kenya, and who can probably access so many pieces of technology and implement them into a country quite easily. I mean, look at a small country, Finland or Denmark. They use technology wonderfully. They use, you know, garbage and recycle it, and, you know, and use it for energy and other things and farming. So, you know, certainly with a huge country like Kenya with over 40 million people, certainly that can be done here as well.
And it's a shame that, adding to what my colleague is saying here, when did we discover we have no water and there's drought in Kenya? Over 50 years, the same places have remained the same. The same folks are going deep, like 100 meters, not 100 meters, a lot of meters to get the water and even get to die in there. So it is time I challenge the leaders to take the issue of water, clean water, and also availability of water. Water has two levels. There's clean water, which is the city's issue, but there's also lack of availability. Like in Malalani, Kitui, we asked the governor to look in that. Other areas up there is water in Turkana, but then it is still dry. Look at Israel, some of the Middle East places that are so green, yet they have no water. We want to make sure that we avail water. With water is life. I'm sure of standard 1 to standard 2, you hear water is life. If we make it available, we challenge the government and the leaders to make it a priority, and then you see how it transforms this country.
Okay. Before we move on from this topic, your expectations from governors generally, or in terms of, okay, in fact, let's just make this a bit wider, devolution. What do you hope to see? We've seen 5 years of devolution. Some say it's working to some extent, others say not yet. It hasn't achieved, you know, what we've seen in America, what we've seen in Nigeria, where counties are almost, you know, 70% independent. Their reliance on the national government is next to nil. What would you like to see in Kenya if you juxtapose examples out there with our own Kenyan way of, you know, managing things? And I can start with you.
Well, I think in the United States, it's really hard to compare, right? You're talking about a democracy that's about 100 years old, and in the United States, we're still making mistakes over there. So, you know, I think Kenya has in a very short amount of time done really good things and really great things. Certainly room for improvement always, and I think that's throughout the world. But listen, what I hope from devolution and what I hope for the people of Kenya is that, you know, you have a system that works, and leadership and political will that cares. So when you talk about garbage, water, roads, health, education, those should be really paramount to developing societies, communities, certainly a democracy. And without those kind of things collaborating all together for the good of all people, then devolution doesn't matter, right? So the people who are running, the political leaders that are running the counties or procurement officers, it is so important for them to understand that they have a responsibility and a legacy to leave. And that legacy is making sure that the people in the counties, the people that voted for them, for who they are elected to serve, must do the work for the people. Without that, you know, I can, you know, say so many things about what devolution should be, but the people who are behind the curtains kind of pulling the strings around devolution, if they don't care about the community, if they don't care about the counties, then none of that really matters. It's just conjecture.
I would like the county, both people and the governors and the administration of counties, to read the chapter on devolution, to understand what you can do, what you cannot do. If it is you, they need to know the Article 55. It's about them. What they can be able to ask, and they are classified as vulnerable population. The things they can also, people of the counties, they need to know they can audit the county. You can walk into the county, show them the books, and be able to account, the county should be able to account, you know, what they have been doing. The governors to be practical, and I would laud Governor Ngilu, who is from my county, who has seen that she needs to provide seeds for green grams, so that people can actually plant. Instead of saying, if you plant green grams, we can have a lot of market for you, I'll look for market for you, she actually provided for it. She went and took some tractors, and she provided for free for people to be able to prepare the ground, to plow the grounds. So people need to be a little more practical in that. What I would like to see is feasibility study. Before you do it, you need to show people how it's going to be done, how they're going to gain, and all that. The other thing is to make sure that the county they have resources. Knowledge is power, and I challenge all the counties across the country on this, because I wanted to, one of my plans when I was running for president was community resource centers, where young people just in the taking care of the cows like I used to do, they didn't know what to do, where to go to school, if they just want something to do, but they don't know what to do. If there are resource centers to tell them, if you want to be a mason, a carpenter, this is the school that you go to, this is how much the fees is, this is, they can sell a cow if they need to, and this is the person who employs these people. They bring those people together after these people finish their work, and they can employ them graduate students and give them credits in the university so that they can do this work as a credit, so it doesn't have to cost them much, but it's only transfer of knowledge. There is so much. They can look for experts, and we can be able to tell them what to do moving forward. Knowledge is power for counties.
Knowledge is power for counties. Before we wrap up this discussion, a lot of, now that the focus is off national politics to some extent, I think governors are going to be the next big talking point. The SMSs that we're getting there. Let me just touch on one or two. Mike Kenyatta from Eldred says, for 190, 100 days is not enough to implement big matters, but he is worried about the corrupt minds that can be read from leaders during campaigns. Money for institutions is not like what one has in private boxes. It requires panels to approve. So my concern that leaders are using money for institutions to do private projects, etc. Someone here again concerns from all over the country, Eldoret, Machakos, Nairobi. Someone saying things are worse. And they've given Mike Sonko, for example, 20% out of 100, and others are saying, different parts of the country, Kericho, you name it. So I guess that's a show for another day altogether. Even as we wrap up this discussion, and I guess that is something that we'll be coming to in the latter days. Let's take a look at some of the cartoons that are in today's dailies, and I want to get reactions from my guests here in studio. Page 14 of the Daily Nation is the first one. It's a depiction of Parliament. We saw a more sort of like Parliament that was able to now carry on its business because NASA legislators are now back in the House, in the National Assembly, in the Senate as well. And so if you can have that cartoon up, someone just telling Parliament, you will need a longer ladder to deal with the in-tray, the work that is waiting for you. You've been on a 3-week recess. A lot of work has not been done. I don't know. There we go. I think the picture speaks for itself. I don't need to add much there. Any reaction, Nakia, Dr. Kaluyu? Parliament has a lot that they need to do, lots of expectations.
Yes, because we are actually behind of schedule. The politics has dragged this all too long, and also they have just the NASA just put together its list for the Senate, the whips, and everyone else. That was being awaited for. There are things, there's a structure to Parliament, the way things work, and without one side, the other side can work by themselves because that's necessary. So there is a lot of things that are behind. More to it, it is not just about the Parliament. It is Kenya that is behind. If budgets are not approved for the counties, they are still waiting for the money. The garbages are heaping. If you go to Mombasa, give him a break a little bit because the trucks are ready, but the garbage is not being drawn because they need to be paid. So because this has just happened and there was unusual activity here in terms of politics. Me contributing, I'm a politician.
You are thick in the smoke.
I was thick in the smoke. But you know what? We need to give them time to come out of it, and we need to work with them. She has gone to the similar universities like I am. Actually, we were in Rutgers together and Montclair at some point. I'm saying that you give people space so that they can do the work and they catch up. If you don't give them the space, leaders are to be helped.
How much space?
Actually, the space is not just by without activity. We need them to give time, like 3 months. We need to give them like 3 months, I suggest, because leaders can be led. Who said leaders are more smart? We need someone who is leading. That does not mean, and we need to differentiate that. Does not mean the leader is smarter than everyone else who they are leading, but we need a leader. Okay. So we need to tell them, we help them to lead, to help them with the ideas, and they can move us forward.
Okay, your reaction?
I think I agree to some extent. We do need strong leaders. I mean, Kenya needs. I live in Kenya. I love Kenya. So I do agree.
How much time do governors need?
How much time do governors need?
Before we can really judge their work.
I think it's set on priority. Every county is different before you can judge a governor. But I think if a governor has not done anything between that 4 to 6 month period, that right now that things are starting to move, budgets are approved, you start counting there from 100 days. If they can't get things accomplished within those 100 days or 90 days, then you really should start questioning their leadership and their governorship abilities.
Okay. Let's move from Kenya to Africa. Page 14 of the Standard is what we need to look at. The Libya slave story. It has dominated headlines now. It started with a CNN investigation that revealed what is happening in Libya, and Gado has taken time to show what is happening. A stage, I guess that's a depiction of the West, and a lady representing justice. Justice is blind, meaning no one is talking about what is happening, and I think they're talking about various atrocities. On one hand, you can see police brutality. On another hand, you can see different depictions of what's happening across Africa. And if you can just have that up, I'd like to get your thoughts on what you read in that message. And then somebody says here, again, we don't quite see who that is, I guess speaking on behalf of the people, I thought slavery was abolished in the 19th century. And then somebody else says, oh, there we go. Oh no, it was democratized and then rebranded.
So there are many messages to this. There are many messages to this. So first of all, is a warning, because I think that is a priority. It's a warning to Kenya when they try to play around with civil unrest. When war comes in, the problem is even not during the war. Someone is going to win, someone is going to do something crazy. It first takes away the dignity of people. And people tend to be animals. And then Kenya, this is what it was facing. They would face if there's civil unrest, people become like animals, and then because of poverty, you have no more money, you can't do the things you wanted to do, you needed to move away to some place with your family, they turn to what the easiest, they turn to the weakest. And then slavery, if you look at the slavery, it's more because some people are trying to gain, and because of lawlessness, and this is a warning. So Kenya, we cannot afford to go that direction. Now, human rights. That no matter what the problems are, to take another human being as a slave is not the right thing to do. To take somebody and just do unusual surgeries and take a kid in to sell, that is not right.
I think $400 or something.
Exactly. So this is the warning to our country. That's what I take as big. But also the United Nations and the community of nations, they need to come in to be able to look at what the real problems are, because it's all to do with poverty. And they come and provide, erect the certain the necessary institution, and they control these institutions, because that's why we are there, for our brothers and sisters, and Pan-Africanism, first of all, to make sure other African countries can come. Even before the world comes in, we need to be able to show compassion to our fellow countries, and I challenge Kenya to lead.
Okay. Nakia?
This story, you know, when I first read it on CNN a couple of weeks ago, maybe like a week ago I read it, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart, because black people catch hell all over the world, and it is and no one is talking about it, no one is mentioning it, certainly not the West or on the national stage, and it would be great to see UN troops go in and rescue you know, African brothers and sisters who are out there really suffering and again crossing borders to try to, you know, find a new life, but unfortunately get themselves into a situation. But the fact that, you know, the West or international communities are not necessarily talking about this, and certainly if it wasn't for CNN breaking the news, would this even be a conversation? It would just be more black people in slavery, you know, a reenactment of, you know, the 1800s and 1900s. So it for me personally, it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
What would you say to those who feel that Kenyans need to be honest with themselves? We can talk a lot about what's happening in other countries, but we've had incidents in Kenya over the last couple of months that are not, you know, what people would like to see, that people's rights have been trampled upon, etc. Nakia, what would you say about that?
Listen, it's a human rights issue. If you're specifically talking about police brutality, for instance, where it seems like one community is being prosecuted,
or a section of society.
Or a section of society. If you come from
this neighborhood, know your fodder. If the police are coming there, they will, you know, deal with anyone.
Correct. And nothing is really being done about it. I think that there's a lot of conversation around it, but nothing is really being done, because we see, you know, I think the president has incredibly good intentions, and we heard a little bit about it in his speech, his inaugural speech, but there was nothing about police protection or national security in that speech. But it would be great to you know, really bring to the forefront that people are being, you know, identified in certain communities and shot indiscriminately, so and killed or beat and brutalized indiscriminately, and that's unfair. That's a human rights issue, right? That's something that certainly should be addressed, and something that should really be dealt with on a level that everyone can see, like, we're going to bring this country together, here's how we're going to deal with it, and this is what this looks like. And until that's done, I think that there will be greater and greater divides in the country.
Okay. I want to interject a little bit. Yeah, and
briefly,
yeah, very briefly.
We do need to take a break.
Yeah, because what I'm trying to say is that we want to look at the cause and effect. Why were people shot? Because you get into a kiosk of M-Pesa, you rape a lady, she tries to run, you bring her back, you rape the lady, and then you expect police not to take action. Don't test the police. There are things you don't test.
That's not the case for everyone.
Yeah, not the case for everybody.
So I don't know if you can speak on behalf of everyone who's lost their life in this period.
No, they shouldn't lose their lives. The police should be restrained, but also at the same time, I'm trying to say both sides. The police should be restrained, but at the same time, don't test the police. Don't throw a stone to the police. Not in Kenya alone.
But
I'm telling you,
it seems to be indiscriminate. You know, it seems to be that, you know, in certain communities throughout Kenya, that certain tribes are being prosecuted more than others. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter.
And I think
that's the truth of the matter.
Adequate time. That's how we wrap up this discussion. You've been watching the paper review on the Power Breakfast Show. Nakia White, co-founder, Global Ladder Africa Political Strategist. Many thanks indeed for finding time to be here with us. Dr. Kaluyu, former presidential candidate on an independent ticket. What next for him? Maybe that's what we'll call him for next time to find out. We take a quick break now. Joy Mufengi up next. Chef Ali cooking up some of the best breakfast you've ever seen. We'll be right back.